There's your cold open right there. Okay, is it recording? Yeah, thanks for asking.
I
Yeah.
feel like, wow, what a behind the scenes look. They ask if the recording is on.
Recording what?
I wonder if the Beatles did that. Hello, is it recording, John? I think so, Paul. Can't really tell. I'm an artist, not a fucking producer. Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug. Welcome into the Bro Force Squad podcast, where for the past 3 years and 90 episodes, we've been just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Very special episode tonight. I'm your host, Jeff Hornacek. Before we get started with the movie conversation, we have to do what we always do. Go around and meet the fellow bros on the episode. We start in the lab with the mad scientist Brian Banner. Now, Banner, the debate continues to rage on who is the better scientist, you or Dr. Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. So what would you say to the obviously drunk off their ass people and probably Skip Bayless who assert and maintain that Doc has a leg up on you?
Look, what scientifically breakthrough has he done? I mean, just explain that to me, and maybe he'll have an argument. He hasn't had any breakthroughs ever.
He yells, "Great Scott!" which is a big, counter.
I'll give him that. He has a better tagline than I do, but scientifically speaking, he's never done anything. Everything he invents, none of it works.
He knows how to say scientific, though, and that's a big plus in his column.
What if he's actually the one pronouncing it wrong, though?
Oh my god.
I will say this, Banner, you and him both have really good dog names. His dog's name is Einstein, and you have one named Odin, which is pretty good.
This is true, but Odin would fuck Einstein up.
Einstein's a thinker. He's not a fighter. Odin is an absolute street brawler, I feel like.
He's part Rottweiler, so he'll kill you. I mean, he's also...
I wouldn't let your neighbors hear you say that. My dog will fuck you up.
I've met him. I don't think he will.
I'm just saying.
Cat.
He was in a fight with a pit bull, and he didn't lose.
No, but it was Pitbull. It was actually Pitbull.
Right. Good. Mr. 305. What's up, Odin? And then Odin was like, your music is absolutely awful. And they got in. It was a verbal altercation, if I remember right.
It was. He said,
all right. Which is actually better sounding than any Pitbull song that's ever been released.
Although I do like that one that he did with Kesha.
Timber?
Yeah.
That one is pretty good, actually.
I don't know. There's just something about it's catchy, and I hate to admit it, but it's not a Pitbull song. It's a Kesha song.
Kesha's way better. Yeah.
Cycly is
awesome.
Cycly is not even a closet Kesha fan. He loves him some Kesha.
I'm out of the closet.
And that brings us.
Is Kesha like this decade's Avril Lavigne?
I don't understand the comparison.
One has talent.
Okay. Well, now that's the problem. Which is the one with talent?
Yeah, and the other one is Canadian, so that's all you got to know.
And that brings us to our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycly. Ronnie, is it true that I can't handle the truth?
Well, if I recall your divorce proceedings with Rachel, you definitely cannot handle the truth. You really did not keep it in order there. The judge was unhappy with you.
You call them divorce proceedings. I call them foreplay.
You know, she was the one who filed. It seemed like you were really distraught. So, I mean, bygones be that was a long time ago. Let's not talk about that.
Rachel, that's Sly Minx. And a long time ago, it was Wednesday. I mean, maybe in the legal world, like, you've moved on, but I'm a fucking wreck. All right, if you've not listened to our show before, or even if you have, you know that we start every episode off with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is our chest day topic. Today is our 90th episode, as we said, a pretty nice commemoration for us. 3 years ago, had no idea we would still be doing this podcast.
I didn't even think we'd still be, like, standing up straight.
I didn't even know who you guys were.
And I still don't. It'd be great to meet sometime in person, but you never can. I mean, it's also scary to meet someone you met on the internet. So, since it's our 90th episode, we decided to do a 90s themed episode talking about our favorite and least favorite movies from the 90s. So, this is any film that came out from January of 1990 till, we'll say, December 31st, 1999. And we're going to do this in three parts. We'll first talk about our favorite movie from the 90s. Then we'll say an overrated movie that we each think from the... Actually, let's do favorite, underrated, and do you want to end with overrated? Because that'll be pretty controversial, I think.
Ooh, I think my underrated's... No, it's not controversial at all. Yeah, I like that.
All right, so we'll each say our... And again, we... and by again, I mean the first time I'm mentioning it. We do not know each other's lists. So I've actually prepared a few backups in case someone says one... that was already on mine. So let's just start. Let's go around and say our favorite movie from the 90s. Cycling, why don't we start with you? We're all kids of the 90s. I think that decade clearly shaped who we are as people. What's your favorite film or a film that you think deserves a lot of love from that decade?
Yeah, so this is going to kind of be difficult because, like you said, we all, born in the 80s, but it was a 90s kid. I look back to the 90s of rose-tinted glasses, and it's just a decade of perfection. Right. Every movie we got to see was exciting. We had the Power Rangers on TV. We lived a good life in the 90s.
Jinko jeans, say no more.
So I really just, to look at these movies that I was thinking of and to pick one, it made me feel like I had to pick like between my favorite dog and, I don't want to do that. It's obviously Leela, but if I have to choose, I will.
I'll take Teddy then if it comes down to it.
So I'm going to do something. I know I cannot pick just one. So I'm just going to go really quick. Boom, boom, boom. I have them in categories. So favorite animated, Aladdin. Favorite thriller, Silence of the Lambs. Comedy, Dumb and Dumber. Background movie, Titanic. And overall, Braveheart.
Wow.
I could not separate them because for me, when I think back to the 90s, each movie encompasses a different feeling, right? I was thinking I had American History X in there too, and I was trying.
God, that's a good one.
I
it's such
fucking
love that
and that's
movie.
why I could list 30 movies that I'm obsessed with from the 90s. So each one of those movies is important to me for a different reason. But I don't know how I could separate one without mentioning the others.
I think the thing the 90s will always be remembered for is animation became like serious. Like movies. Animated films started to get nominated for Oscars.
I think they turned from cartoons to animated films. I think that was the evolution that happened in the 90s.
I mean, think of the golden age we lived in animation with the 90s. It was the birth of Pixar. We had Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. Then comes the Toy Story movies and Bug's Life. I mean, really, it was the golden age. That there was a dip to me a little bit in the 2000s, but the 90s was iconic when it came to animation, and that's why they added that category in the Academy Awards was the best animated movie.
And 90s is, I think, a little light on thrillers or horror movies, but it makes up for it with comedies. And Dumb and Dumber is just iconic. I mean, obviously, I quoted Tommy Boy off the top. You have, pretty much any SNL cast member at the time at least put out one incredible film.
Yeah, for me, it's Dumb and Dumber. Is it a stupid movie? Of course, but it's so quotable. It's the super bad of the 90s, right? Like I can quote every scene in that film and just in any relevant conversation and just name drop a part. How many times do I say soup du jour if I'm at a restaurant, right? So like,
right.
It's so iconic and memorable. And to have Jeff Daniels of all people to play an idiot like that when he was a serious actor, it's just
which is. Yeah, I think or like mid 90s and then early aughts when like Wedding Crashers and Superbad and all that stuff came out are probably like the two strongest 3 or 4 year stretches for any genre, maybe ever. Like they're up there rivaled. Before we go to Brian for his favorite, Aladdin is, correct me if I'm wrong, Cycly, and check out our movie commentary for both that and Titanic, which Cycly's on. But that is your how did you describe it on the commentary?
It's my happy movie.
When you're down, you watch Aladdin.
Yeah, when I'm down and I'm sad and my football team loses or my soccer team loses and I'm just a little upset, that's the movie I put on. I will sing along to it and will always cheer me up. So it's, and I think everyone has that movie, right? Like that's for me, Aladdin. That's a debate to say is Lion King better than Aladdin. Sure, it's very, I'm not going to argue against that. You can have your opinion, but Aladdin brings out. Lion King's a little too sad for me when I'm in the sad mood, right? So
Right.
Aladdin just is for me, like every song gets me going, and yeah. But and if you know me, you already know about my appreciation for Titanic, and again, Silence of the Lambs. So I have a thriller / horror movie win best movie. That's really rarely ever been done, if ever. So
I don't know. I personally don't think it will ever be done again either.
I don't think you can do a movie like that.
Horror's just evolved, and people don't. I don't want to say don't take it seriously, but it is what it is. It's too niche now. I feel like.
I think Get Out has come the closest, and
Yeah.
it still wasn't there.
And that was propelled by a lot of social and cultural relevance too, which Silence of the Lambs did not have. And that's not an excuse, but Silence of the Lambs did not have that wind at its back.
And actually, I'm pretty sure Silence of the Lambs, when it came out, wasn't this massive box office, success.
Boehner, is Silence of the Lambs a book?
I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's
I don't
your
know.
thing, dude.
I want to say it is.
I think it is too.
Is it this year or next year that Silence of the Lambs sequel is coming out?
You're thinking of The Shining.
Oh,
I was like, yeah, because there's already been 2 sequels. There's the Red Dragon and there's Hannibal.
Red Dragon actually is really underrated.
They're not. Yeah, Red Dragon's actually pretty good. Hannibal's not as good, but they both hold up okay.
Geiger and I can do Anthony Hopkins impressions all day, and Red Dragon, he has some great lines. All right, Boehner, what's your favorite movie or favorite movies of the 90s?
For me, I don't have to break it up into different genres. There's one top movie. This is not a surprise. We all know it. Jurassic Park.
No, 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 no.
Great score, great cast, great state-of-the-art technology at the time, mixing CGI and puppets that still holds up today. What are we, 25, 28 years later? It's incredible.
Great Jeff Goldblum chest hair.
Yep. There's some good quotes in there. We have a commentary on it that has a great quote as well. Check
Maybe
it out.
the greatest quote in Bro Force Squad history.
It probably is.
I don't even want to spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't. Something like that.
You will know when you hear it, because the pod stops with laughter for about 5 minutes.
At least 5 minutes. But overall, it's a great movie. Like, if there's nothing to watch, this is one of the probably 3 movies that I put on. I just love everything about it.
Spanner, take me back.
Go ahead.
No, you cycle. You go first.
I was just going to say, I think the biggest part of it to me is that you watch movies that only use CGI back in the 90s or early 2000s, and it does not hold up. Because our technology has come so far, it's so easy to see the lack of technology back then. But because they use combination of robotics, I mean, it looks like it was filmed today. It is ageless, and I actually think it looks better than some of the newer Jurassic Park movies.
I think
that's
also,
the thing.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, with the animatronics, I feel like studios nowadays would never be patient enough to take the time to build those. They would just be like, just CGI it. Like the work that Steven Spielberg put into creating those dinosaurs, nobody would fucking care to do that now.
And that's the saddest part. Yeah, it's worth it.
I also think that the sound of a raptor, the only other thing that might rival it is the sound of a TIE fighter, of one of the coolest put together special effects ever.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
sound design.
Yeah, it's like super minor, but obviously like a TIE fighter, everybody knows that sound. Everybody knows a raptor bark.
It's true. Is it called a bark? You would know better than I would.
I'm not gonna lie. It is now. That's right. I don't know.
That's just a solid choice. Fucking Jurassic Park. Who can argue with that? All right, so I have.
If you ask me if I've read the book, then do you even know me?
No, actually. What's your name?
I think he's fucking with you, man.
Maybe.
Bro. He's messing with you, dude.
I'm not going to lie. So at the time of this recording, what is it? September 26th. Just in 2019, I've read that book 3 times. I'm not joking.
Are there pictures in it?
Yeah. of
Does it
dinosaurs.
scratch and sniff on the dinosaurs? You can
I might check
smell
it
what they
out.
smell like.
And Sam Neill. His
He's
face is on every picture.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
My first one will say, yeah, obviously. This is actually, it's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it has a nostalgia factor, and I'm not being sarcastic when I say I think I've seen it close to like 40 times in my life, and that's a Goofy movie. And it is for me what Aladdin is for Cycly. It's just anytime I'm having a bad day, I watch a Goofy movie, and the relationship Max has with his dad to me is just so real. And I've always wanted to go to a Powerline concert, and we all had a Roxanne at some point in our life, and we all had a best friend like named PJ, where every time we went over to his house, his dad would scream at him and would be like, "Can I still stay the night?" So everything in it is so relatable. But I have to give some love to a movie that we rarely talk about on this podcast, but to Cycly's previous point about Dumb and Dumber, is one of, if not the greatest comedy in the last 30 years. And also is just an incredible idea for a movie that has been mimicked so many times and never as well. And that's Groundhog Day from 1994. I think it, in my opinion, and all the Caddyshack fans out there, I mean, fight me. It's Bill Murray's best movie, and it's not even close. It has heart. It has humor. It's really interesting. It's a concept that if you think about it, like if you had to relive the same day over and over in your life, how would you start to do things differently? How would you reevaluate your life? I don't know, man. It just works on so many different levels, and I love it. I think you can watch it over and over again, which is, I don't even want to say meta. It's just like, because the movie is repeating the same day over and over, but every time you watch it, you kind of catch something new. And I love Groundhog Day.
I think that could apply for underrated.
I heard something about Space Jam and something about underrated. Banner, what'd you say?
I asked, I said that could very easily be an underrated movie for the 90s.
I agree.
You're true. If I didn't do everything that I always do in my life and blow my load too early, I probably could have saved that. Psycho, what'd you say about Space Jam?
Oh, you said it was Bill Murray's best movie ever. I mean, how do you forget his iconic performance in Space Jam?
Yeah, but Space Jam, he's playing himself. Is that even a role? I feel like it was a documentary film.
That's how good of an actor he is.
That's true. All right, our most underrated movie of the 90s. We'll go reverse order. Boehner, you go first.
I didn't do a movie because we're doing all things 90s. Kids game shows.
Oh my God.
How are
those underrated? People fucking
It's an underrated 90s movie.
No,
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, what would you do? What was the one with the Astromeg?
Astrocrag.
That was Legends of the Hidden Temple, I thought.
No, Legends of the Hidden Temple has it has a statue. It's the dude. It
wasn't Wild and Crazy Kids, was it? Anyway.
But that's another one.
Game shows I don't think were underrated in the 90s, though. We knew how awesome they were.
No, kids game shows. We don't have kids game shows like that anymore.
Yeah, it's Guts was the aggro crack.
Guts. Thank you.
Guts! Wasn't that what the guy...
Yeah.
He sounded like he was getting punched in the stomach when he said it. Guts!
And then what was the one that Suzanne Summers hosted too?
What Would You Do?
No, it wasn't the What Would You Do?
Oh, Scott Summers hosted that and Family Double Dare.
Yeah. What was it?
She had the one where the kids had to invent a sport.
Yeah, they had something interesting, and all the people from all that, another underrated show.
Although it had a short life where it was actually funny.
I don't know. I thought it was funny when I was a kid the whole time, but
maybe. I'm confused. Who's underrating this?
That's my point. Yeah, who's the person out there that you associate with that says, I don't know, man, Legends of the Hidden Temple wasn't that good?
I really just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to talk about it, and this was the only place that it seemed fitting.
You know what? That's so honest that I'm going to allow it. Thank you for coming clean. You don't have to apologize if you want to talk about Legends of the Hidden Temple.
I was so jealous of every kid that was on those because I'm like, I could totally do that better.
All right, fine. Which one out of all of them? Because I always thought about this as a kid. If you could have done one Nickelodeon game show as a kid. you only could do one, which one would it be?
I wanted to do Family Double Dare because you know where they have to look up that nose for like the flag.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I would find that in fucking 1.5 seconds. Why are you digging so long?
I think I always wanted to be on Guts. No, I didn't. I wanted to be on Legends of the Hidden Temple, but I think I would have been extremely good at Guts.
I would only go on if I could be a silver snake. Either that or I walk.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't
know about you guys, but at a bunch of like costume parties in college, there would always be two people that went as a Legends of the Hidden Temple team and would buy the shirts online and wear like the helmets and the elbow pads, and I'd be like, damn it, that's cool.
Yeah. For me, it was in between Legends of the Hidden Temple and Figure It Out, that like game show, and you got like all the slime on you. Fun. Yeah.
That one was a good one too. See, that's what I'm saying, guys. Kids game shows needed to be talked about this week.
But you know what's funny? I don't want them to come back. Probably because I'm not a kid now, but also kids wouldn't appreciate them. They're fucking internet and their iPads.
Do you remember the one where they like put you into a like a video game and they would go into that, clearly it was a green screen and they have to like hit the coins? What was that game called?
Oh damn. I
think you know what I'm talking about?
I think that was part of Figure It Out.
No.
All right, while we think of it cyclically. Underrated, I guess at this point, anything from the
Backstreet Boys. Let's talk about that.
I would say that was early aughts.
I'm gonna say for my underrated film is a film I love. I remember the first time I watched it. It's Primal Fear.
Oh, such a good ending, dude.
It's a movie that is amazing. I feel like anytime anyone's watched it, they know how good it is, but it's just not talked about.
Don't spoil the end for anyone that hasn't.
I mean, it's maybe Edward Norton's first role ever, and
gotta be
him and Richard Gere as his attorney. And if you haven't seen it, basically it's Edward Norton's character is accused of murder on an archbishop, Catholic priest, and Richard Gere is the defensive lawyer who likes to be in the press, and it's a major case in Chicago, blah blah blah. But it's a well done, well acted, well scripted movie. And for some reason, I just feel like no one ever talks about it when they are reflecting on 90s movies. I mean, Edward Norton, I think, wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. I think it was supposed to be like Leonardo DiCaprio or someone else.
Maybe like River Phoenix or someone.
Yeah, basically, like if it wasn't for this, Edward Norton would not be. He wouldn't have been in American History X or whatever. It started elongating his role and his career in Hollywood. But if you have not seen it, it's worth a watch. Don't read anything about it. Just go in kind of blind, other than the plot I just told you. But it is an incredible film and I think everyone will agree that it does not get talked about the way it should.
Great one, dude. I would say maybe a top like 25 movie ending of all time for me.
Yeah.
Like
very much. And it's one of those like legal dramas, right? That it isn't, it's not going to have all this action and all this pizzazz in the movie. You just got to enjoy the character-driven story throughout and make it till the end, and it's worth it.
Damn, I totally forgot it. I rewatched that movie like 5 years ago. It's still really good. It's a great pick. I don't know why I didn't think of that. My underrated movie is Pleasantville. Tobey Maguire, the aforementioned Jeff Daniels, Reese Witherspoon, the late Paul Walker, rest in peace. You guys seen Pleasantville?
Wait, right? Who's Paul Walker in that movie?
He is the guy who was like the all shucksy guy in the town that Reese Witherspoon has sex with, and he's like kind of starts the whole like.
Yes.
Like, I totally forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a long.
He's like the all-American point guard on the basketball team. But I don't know, man, and I'm coming back to the theme, but it's kind of like a meta commentary on like and it's even more true now. I think the gap between like baby boomers and millennials, like that's what Pleasantville is speaking to. How like culture clash and like generational gaps and differences doesn't necessarily make one right and the other one wrong. It's just how you perceive the world, and about how like a lot of times if you actually listen to a different generation, both sides, it can really open your eyes to things. And I think on the surface, Pleasantville just looks like a stupid movie about two teenagers who get warped into a television show like Mayberry. But I hate to, at the risk of sounding pretentious as fuck, it's like a lot more than that. And if you actually like rewatch it, I mean Jeff Daniels' arc in it, like his character as the painter who owns the diner, his is maybe like the most on the nose version of what I just described. But every character really, and also it's one of the few roles where Tobey Maguire isn't playing Peter Parker that I can actually stand him.
Does Jeff Daniels have an affair with his mom or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time I saw the movie. I'm trying to think back, and I remember it's definitely memorable, but yeah.
I think it's worth a rewatch, man. There's a lot going on, and it's like, it's just there's so much more to it than the surface level, you'd think. William H. Macy is Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon's dad. And then the guy who plays Barney Fife, actually, I can't remember the actor's name, the late actor, but he actually has a cameo in it, which is, again, it's just a really meta movie, which I always like. Like, I love 21 Jump Street because it makes fun of reboot movies, which is what it is inherently. And Pleasantville just makes fun of, like, all right, the things our parents grew up with and idolized, like, they weren't perfect. We're not perfect either. And we both need to fucking get over that fact. So, Pleasantville, 1994. All right, let's fight. Most overrated movie or movies of the 90s. I have a couple, 3, and I won't talk about them long because one, no one on the pod will have an issue with. The other 2 people will. But Cycly, why don't you go first? Any movie about the 90s that you're just like, people need to shut up about this.
Okay, please understand when I say I really love this movie. Okay. I'm not bashing it. I'm not saying it sucks. I'm not saying anything outside of the fact that it's overrated. And it's overrated because of this. People call it the greatest movie of all time. And it's not. It's an incredible movie, but it's not the greatest movie of all time. And it's The Shawshank Redemption. And
wow. Thurman's going to fight you.
I know. I'm sorry. It's an
Thurman's going to literally call you when he hears this.
And I understand the hate I might get for this, but here's the thing. I love the film. It really is. But when I think of great, like when people rank it on IMDb as the #1 film of all time, it doesn't do anything extra or, that changes the movie genres or all of a sudden made movies after, like, because people saw that film and like, oh, that's revolutionary right there. It's an incredible film based on an incredible piece of work. And that's it. It's an incredible movie. And that's it. And it does not change anyone's lives afterwards. I know I'm going to upset a lot of people, but
I'll say this.
Bullshit ranked #1 on IMDb. That's it.
In your defense, any movie ranked there, it's going to be considered over. Because, like, that's just such a lofty title to give to any film, right?
And I agree with that. And that, if you told me this movie is called like Godfather's #1, I might disagree with it, but at least I can say, no, that revolutionized a specific type of film that did this for the genre, or that did that to Hollywood that they had never seen before. Shawshank Redemption is just an incredible movie and sentence. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't know how it got to be known as the greatest of all time.
You know what's crazy about that? And I'm Bull Durham.
Your face.
Tim Robbins to me is like the worst part of Bull Durham, but like that is, talk about a director getting the most out of someone who I don't think is very talented at all, which is Tim Robbins. I mean, like, he's incredible as Andy in that, but like everything else he's in, I'm like, dude, you're not a fucking actor. Stop. But also as a kid, was that before Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Because I think that was the first time I like saw Morgan Freeman as a kid.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if it was before or after.
It's really close.
You guys want to hear something crazier?
Yeah.
I actually have Thurman's Shawshank Redemption DVD at my house. Have for probably 8 years. I've never seen that movie.
Oh, that's even worse than what I said.
Yeah, that is. Thurman is like, okay, well, I'm hanging up calling Cycly. Now I'm going to call Banner.
At least I'm saying I love the movie.
Me and Thurman have had this conversation, I don't know, probably 30 times over the last 8 years. Because, like, I'm not doing it to try and be like, oh, I have, like, people that, like Jeff, who haven't seen Game of Thrones, like, I'm just not watching it now because it's a thing.
That's not what I say.
I legitimately want to see Shawshank Redemption. I just haven't.
Literally turn
No
on
excuses.
AMC every other night of the week. It's always on.
Well, now I have to briefly defend myself on Game of Thrones. I don't watch it as a hipster. I watch it because I'm 97 hours of television watching behind on the show, and that's pretty daunting.
But you literally texted me, "Hey man, I'm really cool. I've never seen Game of Thrones."
And I did that in confidence, so thanks. Isn't that attorney-client privilege?
That was as your friend.
God damn it! I hate how you could just put on the hat that is most convenient.
Yeah, it depends on when you text me.
All right, Banner. Overrated movies. While Cycling has the people with the torches and pitchforks line up outside his house. How many do you have? Or just one?
Just
okay.
One.
Can I name one of mine real quick and then we go to you?
Yeah, as long as it's not mine.
Okay, hopefully it isn't. Nobody will fight me on this one. I actually loved this movie a lot as a kid. And maybe people don't actually think this is a good movie, but I feel like in the cultural zeitgeist, it's never talked about negatively, and that needs to change. And I like this movie as a kid, but Edward Scissorhands is really fucking stupid. And I understand that that's like it's kind of implied in the plot, but I think Tim Burton is one of the most overrated directors ever. I mean, if you look at his filmography, he has like 2 good films out of 16 movies.
Are those 2 films Batman and Batman Returns?
I would say Batman Returns, and if you want to go 2.5, Beetlejuice, but it's so polarizing and niche that like some people might not even be able to sit through it.
My favorite thing that has Tim Burton's name on it was he executive produced 9. You guys remember that animated movie?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. It's a great show. It was a short story that somebody put on like YouTube, and they found it and were like, yeah, we're going to make this a feature film. Anyway, sorry, Jeff, I stole your thunder.
Really quick, Jeff, did you not like, what was it called, Nightmare Before Christmas? I mean, that's kind of...
It's good, but if I remember it, he didn't direct that, right? He just...
did he not? Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'll look it up now. You might be right, but
I'm just trying to remember. Like I remember, like he did like Big Fish. I found that overrated. I found most of his films overrated, so I completely agree with you.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, he wrote it, but it was directed by Henry Selick, which I guess it's an animated movie, so that's probably more important.
Yeah,
I'm
right on board with you.
Yeah, Edward Scissorhands. Go rewatch it, and it's dumb. He tries to put all this heart at the core of the story, and it's none of it's there.
Can I just say this really quickly? There's one positive about Edward Scissorhands, and it's the Seinfeld episode that it inspired. If you haven't seen that episode of Seinfeld, it's incredible.
Right now, my mom is listening like, I thought we liked Edward Scissorhands. Well, Mom, go back and rewatch it. It's nostalgic, but it's just not good. All right, Banner. Sorry to interrupt.
It's fine. Now, we know that this particular actor is a legend for the Bro Force Squad. Sometimes negative, sometimes positive. But The Matrix.
Wow. Oh, I almost said The Matrix.
That's not a bad one, man. I think that's... Now, can I ask before you elaborate, how much of this is compounded, and this is totally fair, by its pretty bad sequels?
All of it.
Okay.
Because this is just like... I would arguably say that Jurassic Park, you could almost have the same argument because the second one, the third act of the second one, and all of the third one, which are all forgotten about because of Jurassic World, and then you have that atrocity of Fallen Kingdom, that it degrades Jurassic Park because of what it became, and I 100% think The Matrix falls into that category.
Real quick, a diversion. Third act of Lost World, you're not counting that raptor chase in the leaves. You're just counting when they go to San Francisco, right?
Yeah, I think the raptor chase in the tall grass, that's the last scene. That's the last scene in the second act, and it goes drastically downhill. As soon as the chick turns into the gymnast all of a sudden and gymnast kicks it off, that right there is when we take an exponential jump off the cliff.
And they try to beat Godzilla at that point.
Oh, God. Raptors in the Grass, top 50 movie scene all time for me.
Ooh, it's higher than that. It's a great scene. I'd say top 30.
Damn. All right, Matrix, that is fair. So I take it then that you are not at all excited about the sequel.
No, like it. The idea, I like the idea of the Matrix movies. I don't like the Matrix movies. I think that
That's fair.
everybody thought it was awesome. I think Keanu Reeves was at the top of he wasn't at the top of his game because he's at the top of his game right now, but to date he was at the top of his game. I don't think he was good in that at all. I don't think any of it is good.
You
I
can't
agree.
blame him.
You know.
Go, Cycling. Sorry.
No, but please.
I was just gonna say you can't blame him for the reboot now because of the Keanu songs. Like if you're ever gonna do it, now's the time.
100%. And I hope that they do something in those movies that redeem the previous ones, but that probably won't happen.
All I was gonna say is I almost actually picked that over Shawshank, but I always find myself watching The Matrix, and I do enjoy the movie. I always find myself wanting to like it as much as everyone else, though. Like I want to see what everyone else sees, and I never feel like this iconic movie when I'm watching it. I'm just watching a cool action movie that does have a unique premise for sure. But if you even, I do think we'll look back on it better if there was no Reloaded and Revolution. But I'm always wanting to feel what everyone else feels in that movie. So that's why for me, I can't. If it hasn't happened now, it never will.
In a weird way, I think it almost works better for me when I watch it at, like, especially the first one, as just a fun action sci-fi movie that like broke a lot of barriers visually, because it's become a movie that has like all this deep symbolism, like the red pill versus blue pill and like the biblical metaphors. And that's where I'm like, dude, it's fucking Keanu Reeves bending bullets and like doing kung fu. Can we just enjoy it for that and not try and make it some like movie that changes your life perspective? Because even on Reddit, and Cycle, you know this, the red pill blue pill debate is annoying as hell. So like,
oh my god, yeah,
it's like, please stop. All right. This first one, Geiger's not here to defend it, so let's shit on it. This movie is too fucking weird. It's too weird. It's not good. I'm sorry. And that is the 1994 Quentin Tarantino written Natural Born Killers. It's not a good movie. I'm sorry. It's not. The dialogue is insanely weird, which was apparently a thing in the 90s, because remember the Romeo and Juliet movie with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh, yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, where they kept the Shakespearean dialogue but subverted it into like don't they call their guns swords?
Yeah, it's fucking weird, but like it was, hey, they tried something. Whether it worked or not that's a movie people either, I know that's not the movie you're talking about, but that is a movie people either love or hate. I don't know.
I looked at that for overrated because I think it might have come out the same year as Natural Born Killers in '94, because I do get it where it's like if you're gonna go for it, just fucking go balls to the wall, dude. Don't.
They did.
They really did. I wonder if like day 35 on set, somebody was like, "Do you think this is really fucking stupid?"
You can imagine the cast like backstage being like, this is weird, right? Yeah, no, it's totally weird.
Leo's like, "Do you want to do a version where we just talk normal?" And I don't know who directed it, but they're like, "No. Why do we do that?" All right, and then this last one is gonna cause some problems. I've just never found this movie funny. And I think as time goes on, its cult following spurs it to be viewed as an iconic comedy, and it's not. I don't even think from the creators behind it, I don't even think it's in the top 3 of their movies, and that's Clerks.
Oh,
I almost said Clerks too.
I don't like Clerks, man. I don't think it's like I can watch it and I'll laugh a little bit, but dude, even as far as 90s comedies go, it's not even in my top 10.
You know what's funny? Like I'm a big Kevin Smith. Like I love Jay and Silent Bob. Obviously, they're not really big in that movie, but that film I wouldn't even almost call a comedy. There are definitely funny parts, but that movie is almost just like the standalone. Like Clerks 2. Clerks 2 is 100% full on comedy.
Yes, Clerks 2.
I think Clerks 2 is better.
Yes, by far.
And Clerks 1 is just him being a independent director trying to like figure things out and be edgy a little bit, like with this concept.
I tried to rewatch Clerks 1 probably like 7 years ago, and it just feels like a student film that like got a B-.
Exactly.
It's
and
just
you have to give
weird.
it credit for what that is, but people do look back on it and saying it's iconic and revolutionary and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a big fan. Again, I love that whole, like, if you took the Jay and Silent Bob story mode, like those 5 or 6 movies. But yeah, I will agree. It's just not a comedy. It's not a straight up comedy.
But yeah, even like okay, so let's even go Kevin Smith films, right? I would put that and this is just off the top of my head. I would easily put it behind Dogma, Clerks 2, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah, Mallrats is up there for me.
I
I
still
would
haven't
put.
seen it. I know you've been trying to get me to watch it for years.
Oh my God, Mallrats is fantastic. But yeah, Chasing Amy and those 6 or 7 movies are at the bottom for me. Dogma has to be number one.
Yeah,
Guys,
Dog.
I just thought of another really overrated movie in my mind.
Okay, what is it?
Office Space.
No,
Ooh, no.
Office Space is great. Get the fuck out of here.
How can you think that's overrated? As someone who works in an office, like that is.
I'm not saying that it's not good. I think it's great. I just don't think it's as great as everybody lifts it up to be. It's only because of that one scene where they hit the printer with a baseball bat. It's the only reason, because that turned into a verb. Let's Office Space this.
I've never heard someone say that.
But I wouldn't
just made that up.
Cycling, I don't know if you remember, you and I and someone who we won't say on pod, but in high school, remember we had that printer that needed to be destroyed and we took it out back and did that to it?
Yes, we did. That was a good time.
Tanner, I'm surprised you say that though, because Peter, the main character, I feel like embodies you a lot. Like a guy who like is so fucking chill, he's not gonna let anybody get to him, and once he just lets go, like life is his bitch, you know?
Maybe, but I don't know. I don't think it's a great movie.
Opinion,
but let me say this. I think a lot of the overrated thing is spurred on by like if people, and this is how I am, and I hate to say this because I sound like an old man yelling at a cloud, but if people talk about something too much, I just want them to shut the fuck up about it. Right. So I might, even if I like it, I might be like, it's not that good.
Right, and that's where I was with Shawshank, like and things like that. No one's shitting on these movies like Matrix or Shawshank or Clerks or.
I was kind of shitting on the Matrix.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's like actually, I fuck that movie.
Nope, I fucking hate it.
It's ass. All right, so any other takes on 90s movies, or ready to move on?
Or just about
let's move on.
Anything else, Banner, from the 90s?
Yeah, and Banner, you want to talk about like fucking Pogs or something?
I did like Pogs.
Did you guys ever have?
Yeah, and then, did you guys play Magic cards?
No, I liked women.
You liked women in the 90s?
I got invited to sleepovers, so I didn't play.
6-year-old Jeff's walking around like, yeah, I like women.
Okay, fine. Women didn't reciprocate it, so I just, embodied myself in my Pokemon cards, which is totally different and much cooler than Magic the Gathering. By the way, slight aside, and by slight I mean completely, one thing that still haunts me to this day, I never had a holographic Charizard. It bothers me. All right. The second part of our show is our protein shake, where we go around and talk about what is in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. Now, Banner, I'm about to piss my pants. Do you have anything you can talk about for like the next minute and a half till I get back?
Oh, me and Cycly have something that we can definitely talk about.
All right. I'll see you guys in a sec.
Kind of aroused by the way you said that.
Yes. So I'm only going to talk about one movie this week because I watched part of it a few weeks ago over Labor Day, and I finally finished it. So, little background story on this. My brother-in-law was down in his neck of the woods visiting him for Labor Day, and he said, "Oh, you know what movie used to scare me as a kid?" And I said, "No, what?" And he said, Troll. Now,
oh wow.
First, this is a 1986 movie. Let me read you the synopsis off of IMDb. A wicked troll king in search of a mythical ring that will transform him to human form invades a San Francisco apartment complex where a powerful witch lives.
What?
Okay.
I have not seen this. I have heard of it. But I haven't even heard it described as you just described it.
Don't worry. We're going to do a commentary on it because... So first off, basically what that means is there's this creepy-ass troll. He's got this ring with like a needle on it. And when he pokes people, they turn into like little leprechaun things like he is. He lay eggs lays eggs and like leprechaun things hatch out of the eggs. It's ridiculous. But you know what's more ridiculous? The main character, the good guy, the kid, guess what his name is?
What?
Harry Potter.
No.
Yes. There's witches in it. There was a
when did this come out?
This came out in 1986. So I did look into it. There was a lawsuit threatened, but I don't think it was ever filed or anything. Yeah.
Obviously they're different.
There were a lot of very conspicuous what's the word I'm looking for? Similarities between the Harry Potter franchise and this movie.
If she did borrow some ideas, that's really ballsy of her to name the same character Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean,
she should have said like Larry Snotter. No one would have figured it out.
So it's one that I need you to check out. So then we can talk about it, and then hopefully we can give a commentary.
Is it streaming anywhere, or did you just like?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I think I have. It was free on Vudu with ads. So like every 30 minutes you watch a couple of commercials, so it wasn't too bad. Movie's only 1:30. It's 82 minutes long, so it's an easy watch.
We're gonna have to watch that.
It's an easy watch. That's all I got. That's all I wanted to talk about this week.
Who's anyone big in it or directed it?
Actually, yes, there was some bigger names in it. Who the fuck was that one? Sonny Bono's in it.
Sonny Bono, Cher's husband?
Yeah, that's who it was.
Obviously, jeez.
Oh, and then I believe this is her first acting, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in it as well.
Okay. Is this the catchphrase for the film? Apartment for rent, inquire within?
That's what I'm saying, man. It's super. That's what I'm saying.
That's cool, man. I like that. All right, who's up on protein shake? Obviously, I ducked out for a second. So is Cycly gone?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. You want me to go, or do you?
Sure.
What Banner was watching.
Yeah, actually, tell me what he was watching real quick. Sorry, people listening to the pod are like, "God damn it, just re-listen to it."
Move on already.
It was Troll.
Troll.
1986.
Nice.
Just look it up. It's not. Well, yeah, it's pretty fucking good.
Is it worth a commentary?
Oh, 100% there will be a commentary on it. The lead actor or the lead character's name is Harry Potter.
Oh, you have told me about this. By the way, Cycly, Halloween's coming up, so we need to do Saw 3 and then find. We already did Freddy vs. Jason, which is sitting on YouTube. Oh, Jeff.
So ready. So, you want me to go?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I got it ready to watch three things. First, if you know me, you know I'm a big Futurama fan, big Simpsons fan. Well, more so, season 1 through 11 on The Simpsons. And Matt Groening has a new show on Netflix called Disenchanted. The first season came out a year ago. Second season, or second part, I should say, just came out this week. So just binge watched that, and I'll just do a little.
How many episodes is each? Because I was interested in this.
10 in each.
His animation style is so unique. I love it.
Oh yeah, between all three of his, between Futurama, Simpsons, and Disenchanted, I will say Disenchantment, it's not as good as Futurama. It's definitely not as good as what the first 10 seasons of The Simpsons were. I don't think anything can be what that was, but it's worth a watch. It's more of a story and character development than it is in the sense of a straight up comedy. You'll laugh a couple times, maybe more so blow some air out of your nose. But it's not.
What a great way to describe
I know. I was just thinking. I was like, that's exactly what you do.
And that's pretty much it. It is funny, and it doesn't have some great elements. If you're coming from my perspective, where I just adore Futurama, it's just not that, and that's okay. It's hard to replicate three things. But if you're just curious about it, I definitely recommend it. It's good watch. It's a good story. It's definitely about continuity. It's a full-on story. It's not like one episode is about one thing and so on and so forth. So it's worth the watch.
Can you give me like a brief plot synopsis of
Yeah,
the show?
basically it takes place, it feels like sometime in the past, and the main character is a princess who is kind of a tomboy. She doesn't really want to be a princess. She has a kind of a sidekick, but you don't know why he's really there. Is this demon? There's the demons following her around, and there's also an elf who's kind of this like really, really like innocent character, and then they all discover each other, and her dad is like the king and trying to like tame her, and then there's a bunch of other kingdoms and war and trolls and that kind of thing, but it's basically kind of like a medieval time set. But like I said, it's worth the watch. It's pretty funny. It's just, it's not Futurama, and it's not Simpsons season 1 through 10.
He's almost like a victim of his own success, really. Like everything
Exactly.
he comes out with that's new, it's like, well, it's not The Simpsons. It's like, well, that's maybe
Exactly.
the greatest show ever made. So no, it's not.
And so it's hard for me as someone like, and that's why I have to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I really feel like if you're not coming in with that expectation, you will enjoy it a lot more, because again, it is more story based than individual like episode based. So I hope they already were renewed for another 2 parts. I guess part 3 will come out next year. So I'll be looking forward to it.
And
But
it's
the
on
other thing
Netflix, you said?
yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah.
Awesome.
I just watched Dairy Girls. I don't know if either of you have heard of this. Dairy Girls. If you have ever seen In-Betweeners, it's a coming of age British story about 4 high school boys, and they it was so successful it spun off to
Was
a
that
movie.
show that, sorry, when I was at your house like a little while ago, we started watching and you said they made like a movie about it?
Yeah, that I think
I
that's it,
actually
yeah.
got kind of into that.
Yeah, no, it's also on Netflix, and In-Betweeners it's fucking ridiculous.
How do you
If you're
find
okay
these
with some
shows?
crude humor? What's that?
How do you find these shows? Because every time you watch them, I'm like, I like this, but I don't know how to, like, it's not accessible, I feel like. Even though,
A lot of Reddit tells me what to watch. In-Betweeners is, first of all, fantastic, and again, if you're okay with crude humor and watching idiots, it's a fantastic show. My wife hates In-Betweeners, but Dairy
my fiance
Girls,
hated it too. But something is nostalgic to me about like coming of age and the struggle of just like trying to get through high school being a below average looking male.
that's exactly how I feel watching In-Betweeners. I'm like, I remember having these same jokes and same conversations with my friends and with you back in the day, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's probably a little different for guys. And what Dairy Girls is, so it's actually a show still going on in Britain. It takes place in Northern Ireland, but the show takes place in the 90's. When they're called the Troubles, when Northern Ireland were kind of having a civil war, not really full on civil war, but obviously there was a lot of violence going on back then. But it's 4 girls, and they're in high school and coming of age story, and again,
Oh, that's
very
cool.
British humor,
And like an
you know.
undertold kind of, I feel like, lifestyle, really.
Yeah, and it's not like a historical moment that is talked about much, at least in our society. I was actually in Toronto a few weeks ago, and I met a Northern Irish guy, and he was talking about how much they adore that show, because Northern Ireland doesn't get a lot of attention, even in Great Britain. And so I 100% recommend Dairy Girls. You will have to have subtitles on, because their accents are really hard to understand.
Like Brad Pitt in Snatch, where
Yes,
you're like,
exactly. Gags. Yeah. And
Gags.
then and the last thing I recently watched is a show called Firefly. And if you haven't heard of that, it's kind of has a cult following.
Banner loves that
Yes. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
could talk for hours about Firefly.
Okay,
It's the
so-
only show to get canceled after 1 season, but still win an Emmy.
I had never seen it, and I'm a guy who I love Battlestar Galactica in the 2000s. I love Lost. I love ensemble cast. I love sci-fi drama, that kind of thing. So my wife's coworker actually handed me the first season and the movie to watch. So I'm halfway through the season, but I mean, Banner, you can talk about it more than I can, but it's like a Western meets sci-fi futuristic.
It's a space Western. Is exactly
space
what
Western,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So-
I'm halfway through that.
Real quick, Banner, because I put him on blast either last episode or 2 episodes ago. So I know Joss Whedon directed the movie. Was he just the EP of the show? Was he the showrunner, or did he actually like write? Was he like Buffy, where he like wrote and directed most
I
of it?
believe he wrote it. I don't remember how much he directed it, but I'm almost positive he wrote it. And I believe he wrote
it because it's
and
yeah.
I think he wrote and directed the movie as well.
Yeah, I think that's right too.
His
That's
name
what
is-
got him
you
the
can watch
Avengers
it,
show.
His name pops up every time. Yeah, he wrote it.
Which just for everybody out there who's like, oh, what are they talking about? So Serenity, it's a movie called Serenity, not the new 2019 one, with
Which
Anne
I've talked
Hathaway
about
and
previously.
yeah, it's not that one. It's the one
Worst
with
movie of the
Nathan
year.
Fillion. Nathan Fillion is in it, and it complements the show better than a second season would have, I think.
Okay, I'm
You
excited about getting
yeah,
into it and watching it.
watch the show, and then the movie takes place like 6 months, maybe a year after the show ends. So it gives you a complete it gives you a complete thing.
Do you want more? Can I ask that really quickly? I'm like worried about it being so short that I'm gonna be upset.
If you don't watch the movie, you are gonna want more. Yes.
Okay.
Once you watch the movie, I think you'll be satisfied.
So I have a question that maybe is like a whole nother chest day for another show, but so there's so many, like Family Guy was canceled twice. Firefly was canceled. I mean, Fox, I feel like, unfortunately, has like a bad track record of canceling shows that end up getting cult followings or get renewed and they become huge. But did this used to happen with quality programming just because there weren't any other outlets for them to go to? Because nowadays, if you're a quality show, no matter what streaming service you're on, I'm gonna fucking hear about you and I'm gonna find you. Like, why did this used to happen so often with quality shit? Like, and we have so much bad stuff on TV now.
I think back then, I mean, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like watching the show in this perspective now is one, it was a little edgy for its time. It probably had a big budget compared to what ABC or CBS or like to spend on a 30-minute or 40 or hour long show. And it is a little weird. It just is. And for what NBC and CBS, what the networks want is something that relates to most modern audience and more people than anything. So this show obviously is just kind of out there, makes you think, and it's probably a little expensive to produce. I don't know, Banner, what do you think?
I think this show was 10 to 12 years ahead of its time.
Yeah. Like if it was released
Technology-wise,
now on a streaming service, it would probably crush, right?
it would absolutely crush. I think part of it as well is it took a little bit to get going and to develop these characters. If you the idea of space travel and things like that don't kind of intrigue you. So to be on a network channel in that time period and to have to wait week to week for the next episode to come out, I can see how people would lose interest. But if you can watch them back to back to back real quick like that, I think it actually helps the show a lot.
And I'm looking at the cast. I mean, Alan Tudyk, who's like one of the best character actors of the last 2 decades, and then Morena Baccarin from Deadpool, of course, and V and some other things, and obviously Nathan Fillion, like he's the star. So pretty solid. I don't know, man.
Washburn, the guy that plays what's his name? Wash. He plays
Gina Torres
K2.
plays Washburn. Yeah, Alan Tudyk. Yeah. He plays
Alan
K2,
Tudyk. Yeah, that's who I was talking
He's
about.
also Steve the Pirate. He's in the Transformers movies.
He's awesome. So yeah, I love that. That's awesome. I can't wait for you to finish the movie.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I didn't know you had seen it, so I'll definitely I had no one to talk about it with, so I'm excited that you actually know it.
Cycly, report back. How long do you need? Like a week?
Yeah, probably a week. I'm at episode 6, I think, and then I think there's 6 or 7 more to go, and then the movie.
So real quick, either one of you guys can refresh me on this. So the show aired one season was canceled and they made the movie, or was it canceled, renewed, then they made how did it?
It was on, got canceled, was out for a while, and then they made the movie. And they got everybody to return, which is really cool.
So the movie, was it like wide release?
I believe so, yeah.
That's so weird. I don't get it.
Because the show was so popular, people wanted more.
I know, but like if it's so popular, how does the network fuck up and say like, we're good?
I don't know.
Family Guy makes fun of Fox for canceling them twice, which I love and is well deserved. And what's Fox gonna say? They did. You could be like, no, we didn't do that. All right, anything else, Cycly?
No, those are 3. Yep.
All right, I saw 2 things. One I saw in the theaters. It was a film called The Goldfinch. You guys seen this trailer? Ansel Elgort, Nicole Kidman, Jeffrey Wright.
No, I don't think so.
I have. I've seen the trailer.
So it's based on a book. I really, really want to read the book. There's something here. It's very interesting. It's about a kid whose mother is killed in a terrorist attack at a museum that's blown up when he's about 8. And it's about kind of how his life, the tribulations he goes through after that, obviously having lost a parent, but his dad, played by Luke Wilson in the movie, is kind of a fucking deadbeat. And like he ends up returning home to New York and he becomes a salesman for an antique furniture shop that Jeffrey Wright owns. And it's basically like this kid's life has been tough and he hasn't made it any easier with some of the choices he's made. And there's definitely something there. I was interested. Nicole Kidman was awesome. Jeffrey Wright, as always. By the way, today got cast as Commissioner Gordon. Tip of the cap to him. But dude, this movie has an insufferable runtime. I mean, I went to go see it with the fiance, and we were excited. Like the trailers look dark. It's 2 hours 29 minutes. Avengers Endgame is 3 hours and 1 minute. And Avengers Endgame feels like it's 45 minutes shorter. I'm not exaggerating. Even in the first act, I was looking at this thing like there would be a 7-minute scene of dialogue, and I would turn to her and be like, cut that whole fucking thing out. You don't need it. It was just so long, dude. So obsessive with itself. Like, I don't know. It really cut its legs out from under it. If you watch the trailer, you're like, damn, that looks intense. I want to go see it. But pencil in a whole fucking weekend because that's how long it's going to feel like it lasts.
I love it when like long movies feel like again, Titanic, there's like Lord of the Rings for me. These 3-hour plus movies don't feel like anything. And then you watch a movie that just is semi
I think Lord of the Rings is one of the longest movies in the history.
And see, for me, I love it. Like, I can watch it any second. Doesn't feel like it. But
the second and third one aren't as bad. That first one, that first act and a half is so hard to get through.
Yeah, so Cycly,
like I said, that's the whole point, yeah.
Cycly, you'll know this. So Midsommar, right? Let me look up this runtime for that because I think they're fairly comparable in terms of
I think it's like 2.5 hours. Speaking of, it comes out next week, and I'm definitely buying it.
Oh, yeah. Midsommar, 2 minutes shorter, and just because it's so fucking interesting, felt, I don't want to say I won't be that hyperbolic, but it felt about 20 minutes shorter than this movie.
Yeah.
And they're both character pieces with like a lot of intense emotional drama. I don't know, man. The Goldfinch, it's not a horrible movie, but like it's obsessed with itself, really, in terms of the runtime. It's like disrespectful.
Looks like it's not doing well in the box office or reception. I'm just looking it up now because I hadn't heard about it. The movie cost almost $50 million to make, and in over 3 weeks, it's made $6 million. Like, whoa, that's a loss.
How bad did Nicole Kidman's agent bend those people over for the budget to be $50 million? Because there's nothing in it that happens that would require that type of budget.
That's a bad loss. That's a bomb.
Yeah, that's an inflated budget out of control. But I think the book would be interesting because the concept of it is really good. I don't want to say it's quite a coming of age because it's a little too morose and there's not enough levity to really say like, oh, I felt good after I left that. But I don't know, man. It was good film, but don't go see it in theaters. Don't do what I did, where you can't get out. Another one I watched that you guys have to see, it could not be more opposite from The Goldfinch. I already told Cycly about it. Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis, he had a movie that was released. I watched it. You did? All right, let's fucking talk about it. What'd you think?
No, you go first.
I mean, it's so fucking stupid, but that's why you watch it. It's an hour, 20 minutes. You're in and out. A ton of celebrity cameos. I love the shtick of like having someone on and just asking without them knowing, of course, agreeing to the premise, but asking them the most insanely offensive question you possibly can and seeing how they respond. And even though the story makes no goddamn sense, to me we watched it on a Saturday before we went out to go watch college football. And it was just a blast, man. Like, this is what I want a streaming service for, to give me shit like that. Paul Rudd's interview was hilarious, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, yeah, hour, 20 minutes. There's no reason not to watch it.
Right.
It's so short. Like, because it's one of those things like, oh, do I want to watch a movie? No, I'll just put on a show, and you watch like 8 episodes of that show, and it's 2.5 hours. Like, you could have easily watched the movie. And exactly what you said. For me, obviously, the cameos, the celebrities. I could have watched an hour, 20 minutes of just the Between Two Fern interviews.
Right. Have you seen some of the outtakes? They're really good. Him and Paul Rudd have some great back and forth.
I honestly thought the outtakes were even funnier than some of the parts in the
movie. Real quick, before you continue your thought, did you have a favorite question that he asked in the documentary?
I don't know. Talking to
The Brie Larson one was really good.
when he said to oh my gosh, Matthew McConaughey, is everything okay? You have a shirt on.
That was a good one too. Oh, when he goes, all right, all right, all right. Sorry, I'm just reading the reviews of your last 3 movies.
Yeah. I don't know. There were so many, like the whole the whole John Hamm one was incredible. I don't know. That's what I want. Like, I love the Between the Ferns interviews. Like, I mean, his one with President Obama is amazing. I could watch all of them. But so I wanted more of that in the movie. But obviously it's so short and so ridiculous. And
okay, one question. Boehner, you all right?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
It sounds like a Nerf war is happening over there. The question he asked Tessa Thompson was incredible. He goes, "So you were in Creed?" And she goes, "Yeah, I was." What's Scott Stapp like? She's like,
She doesn't even get that at all.
No, she's like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, the lead singer of Creed." She goes, "No, I'm in the movie Creed." And he goes, "Oh, well, have you met Scott Stapp?" And she goes, Tessa Thompson goes, "No." And he goes, she has the best answer ever. He goes, "Well, would you want to meet him?" And Tessa Thompson goes, "I mean, if I don't have to like drive anywhere, yeah." I laughed as hard as I had to pause. Oh God! I had to pause it. I was like, she's like, "Yeah, I mean, like if I don't have to drive anywhere, I guess I would meet him." And then he goes, "Well, I actually will check out Creed. It sounds good." So between
it's definitely worth a fun watch.
If you like it all, the Funny or Die skits, of course you'll love the movie. If you watch them and are like, "I don't get how this is funny," then you're probably not listening to this podcast, number one, and number two, then it's not for you. Like, obviously it's based on the show. I don't know what. Obviously, it was like a meta commentary, but the Gal Gadot interview at the very end I thought was almost as funny as some of the celebrity ones because he was like so over the top.
I was Wonder Woman.
So you were in Wonder Woman. When I saw it, I said, "I wonder, whoa, man, what that was like." And the crowd fucking goes nuts.
Everyone's just dying of laughter.
You're like, this really is, though, how like Jimmy Kimmel is on a Wednesday night. It's that stupid. All right. Before we move on to the last part of our show, Banner, there was something I know you said you wanted to talk about. It was pretty serious.
Do you have a left, brah?
All right, before we move on, Cycly, was that more British or Jamaican, that accent he just did?
Jamaican.
They always are. Listen to our Triple X movie commentary. He tries to do Russian, and it comes across. You feel like you're at a Sandals.
Do you even left, brah?
And that brings us to Do You Even Lift, Bruh, which is our question and answer segment where we dig up a question we found on the internet and we talk about it on our show. And our question tonight comes to us from one of, if not the best Twitter handles we've ever had on the show, and that's Jedi DMF at Disney Marvel Fan. Tip of the cap, raise of the glass to you, my friend, who asked, this is just a great question. It needs to be talked about. He asks, what's the most underrated movie of the 2010s? So, Banner, earlier in the show, obviously, we talked about the 90s. So we went from 90 to the end of 99. Another big movie decade for us. Again, like when we were going to fucking movies, we were getting out of college. Had a little disposable income to go see them. The most underrated movie of the 2010s. What do you got?
So I've got a couple, which I think this is a really hard one because I find myself not wanting to just fall to the newer movies, like the most recent, and be victim of that kind of thought. So I tried to find a few that I thought were really good that were from maybe the early 2010s.
And real quick, it's tough, I think, for us to find an underrated movie because we love the movies we love from then. And if people didn't like them, we basically told them to fuck off and get out of our lives. So we might not know what people are underrating.
That's very true. Very true. So a couple that I've got. One is Shutter Island.
Wow. Very good one.
Yeah.
Although, and this is unfair, completely unfair, but before I saw it, I had the twist spoiled for me, so I never really got to experience Shutter Island. Which, I mean, it's not a woe is me, but like that will ruin my experience of it.
Yeah, that kind of does. That kind of sucks. But I think it's really underrated. I don't think it's like a middle of the pack DiCaprio movie. I think he does a
But
good
that's a
job.
strong list to climb the top of.
Right. Yeah, that's still better than any movie I've ever been in.
Oh,
Okay.
come on, man. I can't
Yeah,
agree.
give yourself some credit. And also a book, right?
Yes, I have not read the book, but I think it is.
That's because you're too busy reading Jurassic Park 3 times before September ends,
Yep.
as Green Day would say.
The other movie I think that is really underrated, Kingsman.
Oh, I forgot the first one was yeah, makes total
Yeah.
sense. I wouldn't
Yeah,
even I forgot. It fucking came out, so how would it not be?
yeah, I think it's really underrated. I think Samuel L. Jackson, that might be his best villain role.
Ugh, I just hate his lisp.
And see, I
And
think it adds to it. I
if
think
you're listening to the
it's
podcast and you have a lisp,
hilarious.
I don't hate you. I just hate the way he portrayed it. But also, if you're an asshole, I don't know, maybe I do hate you.
I just
No,
think
okay, so I'll say this, Banner. You're right. His villain, what he's trying to do is really fucking relatable. Like,
and how he does it,
yes. And
it's
the church scene in and of itself is a top, I'm being really hyperbolic today, but probably a top 15 action fight scene of probably maybe the past 15 years.
couldn't agree more. I think that the way that this movie was shot was absolutely incredible. And they shot the second one the same way, and I thought the second one was great too. I think I like this story better than the second one, but I just feel like it doesn't get talked about enough in this movie that is about to spawn a trilogy.
Yeah, the prequel, quote unquote, third one looks good. The
It
trailer looks
does.
good. I don't
It,
know.
it's gonna be interesting.
What's the third one called? Just The Kingsmen? Is that what it's called?
I think it's just Kingsman. Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll look it up real
Solid
quick.
I have
picks.
nothing to add to that because the only time I saw one of them, and I don't know if it was the first one or second one, was in the movie room at my gym. I was running on a treadmill for an hour while one of them was going on, and I will say this: it was really good.
That's the ideal viewing experience. While you're bouncing up and down on a treadmill with no volume and 11 other televisions next to you. And you probably had headphones in listening to something else.
Yeah, I wasn't really fully engaged, but I still enjoyed
Had
the
no
part of it I
complaints.
saw.
No complaints about it.
No, I walked out of
movie
there
would-
5 out of 5.
A movie would
I
be
am
really.
shocked that they put that up in the movie room.
They probably just had it on like TNT or some bullshit. I don't know. FX. We always quote FX.
Yeah, it's gonna be on FX.
You know, a movie would be bad though if you watched it in those conditions and you were like, "Yeah, it sucked." So you couldn't hear it, you weren't watching it. It was pretty bad.
I should start commenting on movies like, "Oh yeah, I saw it in the gym for an hour on the treadmill. I had my music on, I had Spotify on, but it looks like shit."
And I have some theories. Okay. All right, Cycling. How about you? Most underrated movie of the 2010s.
God, it's hard. I think I kind of agree with Banner there because it's hard to over one. We're living in this decade still, and things haven't like you don't look down the line and say, oh wow, people still like that movie or don't like that movie. It's all still pretty fresh. I'll just say I'll say this. You mentioned it to me earlier. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is if you're someone like me who loves horror, but you also love really bad horror movies. I actually love really bad movies in general. And Dale and Tucker versus Evil, or Tucker and Dale versus Evil, completely makes fun of all of those genres all in one. And if you haven't seen it, it's a cult classic. It's on Netflix. Just put it on, and you will laugh your ass off. And again, it's underrated to the sense that not many people know about it, but the people who do know about it are obsessed with it. Another comedy that I'm going to just really say is.
Sorry, real quick, Cycling. Can you tell people like the brief plot synopsis of Tucker and Dale versus Evil? Because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, basically.
Or is it a spoiler?
Tucker and Dale are two hillbillies out in the country, and they come across there in the campground there next to a bunch of teenagers on spring break. And they're just enjoying their spring break ways, and they're just two hillbillies doing their own thing, and one thing leads to another, and the teenagers think that they're being accosted by these two murderers, And it basically feels like every typical horror movie you've ever seen.
But from the perspective, yeah.
Yeah, from the perspective of the killers. And you realize that maybe the killers really aren't so bad after all. And you will be quoting, "Officer, I've had a doozy of a day." So
like this scene where Tucker, and I won't spoil what happens, but one of them is trying to actually save a teenager while they're dying, and someone walks in at the wrong time, and it looks like something it isn't.
A girl falls in the lake, and they go rescue her, and all the friends like, "What happened to Abby? She's missing." And they go, "We got your friend." And they all scream and run in the opposite direction. Like, why are they running away? We said we have her friend. But, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. So if you're down for just a thought-provoking movie and something silly, please go watch it. It is iconic.
I don't know. It sounds political to me.
And Cycling, this is just for me and you, because it is an incredible comedy that no one talks about. The reboot of the Muppet movie. The
Jason Segel?
Yeah.
The soundtrack to that is really good.
It's incredible, and no one talks about that movie anymore. It was it did well at the box office, but it was easily forgotten. But you know what? That movie's incredible.
And I think what was great about that was Jason Segel's reverence for the Muppets was really, really evident in the film. Yeah. Like how much he loved them and idolized them as a child, which my mom raised me right. I grew up watching the Muppet Show, like pretty much every night that it was on, and watched all the. I mean, one of my first, I think it was probably 3 or 4. One of the first things I visibly remember seeing in my eyeballs was Muppets Take Manhattan.
Oh yeah, I loved it. And someone like you and I were raised on it, and he was so respectful of the source. He didn't just change it up, make it ridiculous. It just as a comedy, even if you're not a Muppets fan, it is hilarious.
Yeah, Muppets from Space and Muppets Treasure Island are the 2 best.
Muppets Christmas Carol.
Have you even heard of Muppet Christmas Carol? Check out our movie commentary, which I think you were on, Banner. It's going to put your daughter through college.
It's a solid 3rd best Muppets movie.
Treasure Island is really good, though.
Treasure Island's the best. Muppets from Space, I don't know. I just enjoy it, but it's really bad.
Muppets from Space is 2 good scenes. The overall plot is lacking, but it's still good. I have 2 briefly. This was a great question, Jedi DMF. Tron Legacy from 2010, and I know that I idolize this movie. The soundtrack alone from
Daft Punk, God,
makes me want to drop acid and just lay on my bed and do push-ups. I know those are polar opposites, but I would probably do both. So Tron Legacy, I feel like I don't get the same thing with Star Trek Into the Darkness, which I looked at putting on my answer here. I don't get what people don't like about it. What if you're out there, tweet at us, comment below. What is a complaint about Tron Legacy? What don't you like about the movie? I'm honestly asking because I don't get it. I'm not saying it's a perfect film at all, but dude, it's really good. The
visuals are incredible. The like you said, the soundtrack is great. I thought Jeff Bridges was fan-fucking-tastic.
There's a great storyline, a really good emotional through line, incredible action set pieces. It moves really, really quick. There's hardly any exposition. I really don't get the detractors.
I think it's also cool that if you haven't seen the original Tron, the movie still makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great.
Get more out of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the last one I'll mention briefly, but Robert Downey Jr.'s movie The Judge. Haven't you guys seen this from 2014?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Cycle, I don't know if you even heard of this. This was Robert Downey Jr. started his own movie studio funded from the money he made from the Avengers, which was upwards of $100 million because he did not take any front end pay, only took box office receipt cuts.
Smart.
He started a movie studio. He had this script that he said before his drug issue, he wrote it. And he plays a defense attorney whose dad, who has moved away from his hometown in Indiana. He's gone on to bigger and better things. He's a very successful criminal defense attorney. His dad is a judge in a small town in Indiana who's getting to the end of his life. Probably, he has a slight dementia, nothing diagnosed. And his dad is convicted of vehicular manslaughter for someone that he convicted of a crime and then was acquitted. So it's a bit of an issue. And he comes back. Him and his dad have a very troubled past. His dad's played by Robert Duvall. And he decides, I will defend my father pro bono in this case. And it's the story of like their relationship, him in this case, and then him coming home after 20 years of leaving, being a successful criminal defense attorney. And it just works on every fucking level. He's Robert Downey Jr. He's quick-witted. He's a lawyer who like knows his shit. But also he comes home and he's like, yeah, my life here was not perfect. And I have an ex-girlfriend from high school who I left when I probably shouldn't have. I have a family with a brother who suffered a brain injury that I probably walked out on when I shouldn't have. And my dad and I definitely don't get along. It's just a great fucking movie, dude. And I don't feel like anybody saw it, which is
it,
really.
Do you know it's on anywhere? I would like that. Sounds interesting.
I have it digitally. I could probably find. I'll get it to you because you would absolutely love it as a lawyer and just I would almost say it's like a 10 out of 10, dude. I can't think of a thing wrong with it. It's funny when it needs to be. It's really serious. The story. There's a really really interesting twist in the court case. It's really really fucking good. The lawyer, or the judge, excuse me. Robert Downey Jr. is the lawyer. His dad's the judge.
So that's a perfect underrated movie. It's one like not you like clearly I hadn't seen it, like not very talked about. Because it's hard to judge what underrated means.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
And Robert Downey Jr.'s studio, they produced that film. He had a horror movie he was going to produce and star in that got shelved. And now the second film they're doing, which the voice cast alone is out of this world, but it's going to come out at Christmas where he plays a reboot of Dr. Dolittle. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh.
Interesting.
Tom Holland is in the voice cast, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth. It's basically all the Avengers.
All his boys from the Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah, they ponied up to do the voice of the animals. All right, Cycly, any last thoughts for our 90th episode and basically our 3-year anniversary episode for the people?
Yeah, I think everyone is as shocked as I am that this still exists. So, props.
Oh, I just realized the entire 3 years we forgot to hit the record button, so none of this is real.
It's like the Truman Show.
Rosebud is the name of the sled. That's the thing.
We're all gonna wake up tomorrow like Keanu. Whoa, what?
This is a Keanu episode.
Yeah.
Banner, what are your last thoughts?
Hey, just make sure you guys pull over for emergency vehicles. Had one coming down the road today. People weren't pulling over, and it was really pissing me off.
Banner, I'm not kidding, and I used to joke about this, but like seriously, you need to keep saying this. It's a fucking problem, dude.
It is a problem. Like, what if that was you in that ambulance, or what if that is one of your family members? Make sure you always pull over.
Like, I'm sorry, but you getting to Chick-fil-A at lunch is not more important than the goddamn ambulance getting on the road. Right? Can we prioritize those? All right. For our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycly, and the mad scientist, Brian Banner, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. Guys, this is our 90th episode, 3 years of the Bro Force Squad. Thank you so much for listening to us. Let's do 3 more years and another 890 episodes. We'll have to increase our output a little bit, but not too much. We're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. Until next time, we will catch you at the movie theater. Steve Smith is on my TV right now. He's gotten really fat. That was so rude.
God. How's that?